The Soviet Union are the OGs of sports science. Concepts like specificity, periodization, long-term athletic development, talent ID, and of course, the extracurriculars are all ideas that originate from and were developed in the USSR. And the results back it up. In the 36 years that the Soviet Union was a thing, they bagged 62 Olympic golds between their freestyle and Greco teams at the Olympics. Why is that? I think we can attribute at least part of that success to their strength and conditioning, which, even though this video is probably 60 years old, is better than a lot of what you would see online today. Today, I wanted to share what I think are the big takeaways from this video and the Soviet model of physical preparation at large for grappling athletes. The first is that the basics are time-tested and will always be in fashion. I said in another video that the 5 most common exercises that all elite grapplers seem to do are bands, rope climbs, pull-ups, heavy torso training, and hill and stair sprints. And what do we see the Soviets doing right here? Bands, rope climbs, pull-ups, heavy torso training, and I'd wager that they probably did hills and stairs off camera. One of the great things I love about combat sports is that bad ideas tend to get weeded out. If your training sucks, you're probably going to lose and or break, and your ideas get removed from the gene pool. The stuff that's left over is probably the stuff that works, and the longer it's able to stick around for, the more confident we can be in that statement. And we're coming on close to 100 years for these training activities, and people are still doing them. So maybe there's a lesson in that. Next, I've talked about this idea before in the video on Zvonarhye in Georgia, which is that you have to control your own body in space first before you earn the right to control a load or an opponent. And you can see there's a strong emphasis on basic gymnastics, calisthenics, and low-level plyometrics in this video. Another idea, again, which I've talked about before, specifically with Sajilayev, but none of this training is crazy, insane, back-breaking work. You can tell that they're getting the work done, but they're still leaving a decent amount in the tank. 1, to make sure that technique isn't compromised when they're on the mats, and 2, to devote the lion's share of the energy to wrestling because that's the stuff that really matters. You can also see great use of special strength training methods. The catch-22 of training is that nothing builds strength like general exercises, but their transfer to sporting skill is pretty much zero. Conversely, practicing sports skills transfers a ton, but does little to nothing to develop the underlying speed, strength, and power that puts the intensity and the endurance behind the skill. Exercises like the partner carries, throws and drags, and the kettlebell throws and twists that we see in this video, they're great examples of how we can start to marry up the general with the specific to try to apply the force that we've developed with general exercises in a more sport-specific context. Lastly, I really like the use of exercises to stress the tissue and build strength in the end range of motion with things like those deep push-ups, Zercher deadlifts, and Zercher high pulls. I can't prove it, but it's always been my belief that the range that you don't train in is probably the one that you're going to get hurt in. I don't think it's a stretch to imagine that if you only ever train regular deadlifts, you're going to struggle when you get into the extreme positions of something like trying to lift an opponent from parterre. Not that it was needed, but this video is just further proof that success in grappling is probably rooted in being a master of your sport while executing the basics of physical preparation with relentless consistency and intelligent decision making. Glory to the revolution.